Hello, folks. Um, so sorry for the delay. Am I now live on YouTube? Is the question. It should take a few.
Um,
It will take a few questions, a few seconds, and
yes.
you are. And can you just talk, Arash? I just want to make sure I can hear you. Yeah, there we are. You're going. Somebody's going
What
to need to mute me, mute the YouTube video, because otherwise I'll be able to.
did can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Speak again.
1, 2, 3, 4. Mic check 1, 2.
We're all good. Okay, so sorry for the delay, all you wonderful YouTube people. I did exactly the same things I did last time and set all this up via Zoom, and it didn't work. It didn't start live streaming, so I'm having to do it an alternative way, which I have never done before. So just if something weird happens, like we start going into a feedback hole of echoes and stuff. So I've got a Zoom call, and we're listening to music off my computer, and I'm live streaming via Ecamm Live rather than just doing it all through Zoom. And it's like literally brain explosion time. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is going to be a one of those things where we're trying something for the first time. So expect mistakes. But anyway, let me just go through what we're doing today. So the Leap 7 class just finished, and oh, and by the way, just so you know, Momentum Monday, not the Mike Monday show. Momentum Monday is not this. This is being replaced. Is not being replaced. Okay, so this is something extra. It's not the same thing. So Momentum Monday is still happening. 20 minutes before now. This time tomorrow, basically. Okay, and it's a group coaching session where we do brainstorming, planning. We do some accountability stuff, and then I'll give you some music and production insights. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about hooks. I'm really excited about that because I've been fiddling around in the background, and also in the future, just to expand on it not being the Mike Monday show, in the future, Arash and Luke are going to be sharing some stuff as well, aren't you guys? Yeah. So,
Yes.
you know, my aim for Momentum Monday is to make it pretty much the most valuable hour and a half it's possible to spend on YouTube if you want to make music and build a business around it. So that's the idea, anyway. So, and we're going to be sharing our building of our magnet model businesses. And the magnet model is one of the things you learn in the Leap. So building of our magnet model businesses from the ground up, because all three of us are releasing a track a week next year through 2021. Aren't we? Yes! Yes! I think so! I hope so! Ah! Yeah, no, we are, definitely. So let's get back to the point. And the point is this. The feedback party. So, the Leap 7 completed, when was it? A couple of weeks ago. And so we're listening to music, some of the music made by Leapers in the last class. Through the last class. They didn't all start in the Leap 7 because you get to go through it as many times as you want. But, you know, as a result of that, there's all kinds of different people coming through. Some of them have done it like 8 times, 10 times, some people I think even. Some people have only done it once. And what this feedback is very, very different from the kind of feedback you tend to get or that you kind of tend to see everywhere. So it's definitely not mixing or mastering feedback, okay? It definitely is feedback on your music. Now, there's a few reasons for this. I'm just going to make this bigger. There we go. There's a few reasons for this, okay? Because usually, where the first reason is what I've noticed is that I've noticed these people like stressing their heads out about these like finer points of mixing and mastering. So, for instance, when we did the feedback party last time on Facebook, I don't know whether you remember, but Arash and Luke, but there was a guy in the Facebook commenting on the Facebook, and he was a very nice guy, but he was talking about compression ratios. And I was like, okay, so the music, I mean, for one thing, the track that he was talking about at this time hadn't even been mixed, right? So that's the first point. And the second point is that the track that we were listening to was, it was great, but it was made by somebody who had just started making music. So the Leap, there's all kinds of different levels in the Leap. People have been doing it for absolutely years and years and years, and people who are just starting out. And let me respectfully suggest that compression ratios might not be the thing you want to focus on when you're just starting out. If you're just starting out making music, even, yeah, I'm not just talking about the production side. Yeah, might not be the highest value thing for you to be focused on. Okay, I mean, in fact, I would say there are usually other problems to focus on first, right? In other words, why don't we just stop polishing turds? And the other reason we're not going to focus on mixing and mastering is that there's already a whole load of that already. Okay, so in internet music land, very few people focus on the most important elements of making music. Yes, and I do say the most important elements of making music. That's not to say that mixing and mastering isn't incredibly important. It is absolutely incredibly important, but it's not the most important. How do I know this? Because some of the greatest music ever written and ever heard, even now, is not actually brilliantly mixed and mastered. Okay. The hint you will get is by the name. Yeah, people say music production. I don't actually like that phrase. The only reason I use it is because people use it, and I need to talk in the language that people talk. I prefer to call it making music, which involves music production. But the hint is it's called music. It's not called compression, right? It's not called mastering. It's not called mixing. It's called music. Yeah. Next reason, to be honest, giving a great mix and master feedback through Zoom might not be all that useful. Let's face it. Right, so I'm going to be streaming something through SoundCloud, right? So it's gone up into SoundCloud, come back through SoundCloud, and then it's come out through Zoom, and then it's going to go out into YouTube. Let's have a think about that. Talking about compression ratios in that context is, let's face it, fairly. Anyway, but finally, the final reason, and probably the least important reason, but it is a reason, is that I've actually developed a specific methodology for giving useful feedback about the actual music, the notes, yeah, the stuff that we are mixing and mastering, which doesn't rely on a music degree. So I think it will be quite helpful, both for those who do have musical training. I was a composer in the Leap 6 class, or was it Leap 5 class? I can't remember. So he's composed some really big sort of Broadway musicals and stuff. He's a classical composer, he literally writes on paper. And I was kind of always a bit about how I explain, because I'm trained musically as well, about how I explain music to people, because I always thought, I wonder what my fellow, trained musicians would think of the way I do it. And it was just so fantastic to hear from him, because he was like, I just love the way that you explain it. You make it very simple, and it's kind of, it's so much simpler than the way it's kind of described, and it works as well. So it was useful to him because it's almost like it provides the way that I've figured it out is it provides a model that even people who kind of know much more, it helps them not get lost in the weeds as well. So it's good for people who don't have music theory and don't have a music degree and aren't going to do that, yeah, because it helps you understand what you need to do. It's helpful for people that do, because it's kind of a model for simplification, which is often what we need, isn't it? So this is the model, and if you're not on if you're on the Zoom call, if you're a looper and you're not on the Zoom call, you probably won't be able to see this. But I suppose I could do this. Yeah, so you can see it now. Great. So I'm working this out. I'm getting it. It's great. Right. So how to do a Zoom call and an Ecamm live stream at the same time by Mike Monday. So this is the paths process, okay, or the paths model, which is about really where to go with an idea. And there are 5 little sections. Payoff, what could be the moment in the track? Arc, how could the song shift, transform, or change? Thing, what could this song's purpose be and how could the music deliver on it? Hook, what could the earworm be? And space, what environment could the music be creating? Now, obviously, this is a model. This isn't reality. Yeah, this is a map, literally, in this case. So it doesn't encompass absolutely everything that there is to say about music. It never will. No model will. If a model wasn't a model, then it would be the actual thing, right? But what it is a very helpful way of listening to your music and figuring out what to do next, and figuring out where it might, what you can do to it, listening to it, and figuring out what the problems are, and furthermore, how you can fix those problems. Okay, so this is the kind of model that we're going to be using in order to give feedback. And just as a side note, Arash and Luke, what I would suggest we do, because we've got a few people we need to get through, and we're already half an hour in because of the technical difficulties. What I would suggest we do is essentially maybe just focus on one of these rather than going through all 5 with everyone. Otherwise we'll be here till Christmas and we won't get to enough people. Yeah, so there's probably going to be one of them that we think is is the one that could do with the most improvement, or is the most sort of to be remarked upon. Does that make sense? So I'm going to move that over here. Oh yes, and just a final thing. Obviously, leapers know that, and here we've got the chat, the leap chat going on. People who are in the leap are at all skill levels, so there are going to be some beginners, yeah, and there are going to be some experts. There are going to be some people who've been making music for the whole of their lives, yeah. There are people with any setup or gear. So, there are songwriters, there are guitarists, there are bands, there are electronic music producers. Obviously, it's one of the biggest questions I always get is this only for electronic musicians? Not at all. So it's literally with any setup or gear. There's modular people. There's all kinds, and obviously all genres as well. Okay, so I'm going to move you down here, and let's have a listen. I'm going to stop that share. I'm going to make you smaller. It's a very, very busy screen now, isn't it? Right, there we go. And let's go to our first leaper, Luke.
All right, I've got Danny here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's have a look. So this is Dimmy. So I'm doing this out of the Slack community. There he is.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing? All right.
First in, best dressed. How's it going?
Good. Let me just. Can you just turn yourself down a bit, Dan? You're a bit coming in a bit hot.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's all right. No worries. There's about 5,000 things that could go wrong here, so it's not you. Also, have you got any I don't suppose you've got any headphones, have you? Or...
I'm wearing headphones.
Oh, you are. That's okay. So yeah, just maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it'll be all right. So that. Whoa. Okay, cool. So when are you going to put it out? It's the first thing
I literally just finished it yesterday. It's,
Okay. Also, I mean, just in general, I think it sounds great. I don't know anyone else. I'm like,
oh, thank you.
yeah. I mean, that's the first thing. Nice one. But more useful feedback. First of all, oh God, I'm sorry about this with me moving things around and everything. I'm trying to get my head around everything while doing 5,000 things at the same time. Tell you what, why don't I pass over to Arash first to give some feedback just while I'm getting my head around the Windows situation. I do have a couple of things that I want to say, but
Absolutely. Danny, oh man, I'm getting double feedback.
uh-oh. Is it YouTube?
I've muted myself.
Okay, is it hang on a minute, what could it be? You're not in Ecamm Live, are you? You're not coming through Skype.
No,
Um
I'm on Zoom.
so you're on Zoom. Okay. Okay, I tell you what, I'll just start talking. I'll stop worrying about the live stream part. Okay, so what would you say, Danny, the thing is in this track?
I really like how the atmospheres build up and the percussion, and then when that sort of plucky
It's
bass.
with Danny too.
Really, is that coming through YouTube as well?
I don't know. Hold on.
Am I having feedback? Oh.
I hear it. Everybody but you, Mike.
Oh, okay. Hang on a minute.
No, but it doesn't show up on YouTube.
It doesn't show up on YouTube.
No.
So it's only Arash and Luke that you're hearing it? Or is it everyone in Zoom? Everyone in Zoom. Oh God. Okay. I can't work out why that is. So how about you, Danny? When you talk, are you getting massive feedback?
Am I getting massive feedback?
Yeah.
I can hear myself. Yeah.
Right. I'm not sure what to do about that. Is it possible to deal with it? Maybe what we can do is, for the people who are on Zoom who aren't actually going to have their music fed back on, we'll watch the thing on YouTube and then we'll come to you. It's a bit delayed. I don't know how to deal with it. Can you deal with it? Can you turn it down a lot?
I will work with it.
Okay, thanks. Sorry. It's one of those things which I've never tested before because the Zoom feed didn't go to YouTube. I set up everything as it said, but it didn't go to YouTube. So I knew something would go wrong. So anyway. All right. So yeah. So what did you say the thing was, Danny?
I like how the atmospheres sort of build up, and then the percussion, and then the sort of that plucky bass that comes in about the 1 minute 30 mark.
Okay, so yeah, so the thing isn't the thing you like. The thing is in this kind of music tends to be the thing that goes away and then comes back and releases the most tension. So what would that be?
It would probably be the plucky bass.
Boom, 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 boom. Oh, that thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that could well be the thing. One of the. I mean, first thing to say, Danny, is none of what I'm about to say is about. I don't want you to go and change it because, as I said, when you're going to put it out, it's easily good enough to put out. I think. Anyway, I'd put it out if I made that kind of music. Yeah. So that's the first thing to say. But it's a kind of very, what's the word? It's a very kind of thick and big and all encompassing. And I think while that thing is the bum bum bum, but is almost the most catchy, it's because the rest of it is so huge and you've created this kind of almost like cathedral like wall of sound type space, it's almost like that feels like the thing, but it also doesn't feel like the thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And so what I can hear, and this is often happens, is that there's a lack of clarity about what the thing is in this track. Because to me, at the moment, the track is expressing, the thing is the kind of the whole, groove.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you wanted the thing to be the bow, 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 bow. I could kind of hear that with the way that you used it.
Yeah, I think that was just the sort of most distinct sound that I was using. So that's what sort of the rest of it was just sort of abstract atmosphere type sounds.
Yeah. But the thing can be like an entire groove. That's what I mean about the difference. Let's go back to the paths thing. So the difference between the thing and the hook. Yeah. So in this track at the moment, what this track is doing, if you like, is I would say is the thing is the whole groove, yeah, and the hook is that bass, the plucky bass thing. Now that's not a problem. I'm not saying that's a problem, but what I could hear was that you thought the hook was the thing, and it isn't. I mean, maybe you didn't think that, but that's what the music is expressing, if you like. Does that make sense?
Fair enough.
Does that make sense? So yeah. Ardash or Luke, did you have anything to say?
Luke, do you have something?
Sorry, the echoes.
Thing to do is mute. Is mute it when you're talking, and then unmute it when you're not.
Oh, so mute.
Mute the
Okay.
mute the out.
So yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
thought I think I agreed with everything that Mike said as far as like the thing, the hook. And then what else did he say? I thought the arc made sense as far as like, you have like your up points and your down points. And then yeah, I mean, I was gonna say most of what Mike said, honestly.
What Mike said. Brilliant. How about you, Arash? Did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think first off, it sounded great. That bass line, don't, like I got my head working, right? So I'm imagining seeing this on, as a DJ myself, I can see this working on a dance floor. So I'm coming from a DJ perspective here, and I feel like if that bass line is the thing, then the next, if you were going to rework it, which you don't have to, right? Like you could put it out today and it would be fine. But if you wanted to rework it, I would look at a payoff to how do you make that moment exciting? So how can you create excitement for the payoff of the bass line coming back, and that way lifting the track a bit on the dance floor? Because you imagine you want people working and then you want to get them excited, and then the bill goes and it drops, and then they're like, don't. So I would look at that if I was to have another round of it before release.
Yeah. Again, that is absolutely on the money. I think too, because one of the results of not being clear about what the thing is sometimes is that, because the thing and the payoff are, especially in, this is particularly club music, like dance music like this, it's meant to be played in a dark, sweaty club, that kind of thing, is that people get sometimes confused between the thing and the payoff. So what's the difference? Well, in club music, the thing is the thing that comes back at the payoff, usually. Yeah, I mean, almost always, in fact. Yeah. And if you're not clear on what you want the thing to be, yeah, then sometimes the payoff isn't as big as it could be, right? But I just want you to know that, Danny, I would strongly recommend you not using this piece of information to rework this track. I would strongly recommend you using this information because again, it's great as it is, right? So I would just strongly recommend you using this information to for the next piece of music you work on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
this is very different from like most things that I normally make. I normally make like quite four to the floor, dance floor friendly music, but this sort of just turned out quite more experimental. But I just went with the flow and I quite
Cool.
liked it.
Excellent. Well, nice one, Danny. I think you did a great job. And it's the first time
Thank you.
you've been a leaper for a while. And it's the first time I've heard your music, so it's great to hear. Keep it up.
Awesome.
Right, let's go to
Cheers.
the next leaper. And if you could let me know who it is, so I can scroll around in the community and find the right person.
Yeah, it's Jace.
Jace. Jace is at the top somewhere. I seem to remember. Oh yes.
Hello.
Hi, Jace. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very, very well. So, Jace, where is this a splurge or no? That wasn't you, was it? The track that we're about to listen to of yours. Where is it at? Would you say is it finished or what's the?
That's the good question.
Yeah.
Still struggling with releasing.
Okay. Okay. You seem to be
And,
seem to be coming in and out on the mic. I don't know if that's Zoom or me.
Can you hear me now?
Is he coming out for anyone else, or is it just me?
It's a little in and out.
A little in and out. Okay, it's just me. Yeah, it seems to be that maybe it's a connection issue on your end, Jason. I'm not sure.
Let me try again. Can you hear me now?
Oh, that's better. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So what were you saying about this track?
Yes, this is from a in the Leap 6.
Oh, okay.
And I'm having trouble
You're having
letting them go.
Okay, you're having trouble releasing tracks. Just letting them go. Okay. So this is something that is supposedly in release.
Yes. I mean,
Okay. Cool. When I say supposedly, what I mean is you'd like it to be, but there's something about it or something going on which means that you're struggling to say yes, it is. Yes.
well, yes, and it was challenging circumstances.
It was done in challenging circumstances. Okay, so it was apprehensive about this. I had to write, mix, and master it in a hotel room under the worst circumstances from a monitoring and gear perspective. Okay. I'm thinking that this had an adverse impact on the quality. Not always the case. Not always the case. Okay, let's have a listen. Let me just make sure that it doesn't deafen everybody like the last one did. All right, let's try that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know why everyone felt like I had to clap. It was like one of those, wasn't it? Okay, so Jace, before we say anything, okay, because we're about to start coaching, aren't we? You and me, right? So I'm interested to know, and the reason I say that is that it's kind of going to be important for me to know what you're about to say when we do our first session, okay? So because you've just listened to it for the first time, live streamed on YouTube, with everyone watching and listening, yeah, in this kind of unusual situation, so that's going to mean you hear it in a very, very different way. Yeah. Now I know how I heard it, so I am literally objective on this one. Yeah, as is everyone else. Yeah. Now we're subjective. I'm not going to go there. Actually, I was just going to talk about the difference between subjective and objective and what that means, and go all philosophical on us. But I'm not going to. What I'm going to say instead is that so we're hearing it in a certain way, and you're going to be hearing it very, very, very differently. And you're going to be hearing, furthermore, because it's in this situation, you're going to be hearing it incredibly differently to the way that you've heard it before. Is that true to say? Does it sound different? Did it sound different then?
Yes.
Yeah,
It does.
yes. I mean, obviously it's coming through Zoom as well and everything like that. But aside from that, yeah. So what was your feedback for yourself before we give any feedback at this point, listening to it in this situation?
On the listening that just heard.
Yeah, just listening to it now.
I thought it sounded nice. I mean, I just don't know if it's having. I'm not saying that's what I usually think, but I'm looking here at the chat room. And I'm wow.
So no, I mean, don't worry about what other people think, right? So you thought it sounded nice, and then there was a but, and then you cut out. So what was the bit after the but?
The feedback is a lot more than I
That you expected. Yeah. So don't worry about the feedback. What was your own feedback? Don't worry about other people right now. I know this is why we're here, but I just want you to. What was your opinion?
I need to pass over the mix one more time.
Okay, why? Where are the problems?
At the climax, the piano has a little bit of distortion.
Okay, fair enough. If you heard that mistake, I mean, I didn't notice it, but if I'm sure you're right about that. I mean, are you sure? Because it could have just been a Zoom thing. So that's the first thing to check. Okay, so fair enough. If you pick up on a mistake, makes total sense. Is there, aside from little mistakes like, I mean, God, pianos are a nightmare, aren't they? Jeez. But anyway, so if you picked up on a bit of distortion or something. Absolutely. Was there? But aside from that kind of, little error where you need to roll off something or do something like that, anything else about that you would change? Are there any problems other than those little mistakes like that?
No, I can't hear it.
No, great. And just one thing, Jace. So I asked you. I said. On that listening, did you hear anything that needs to change? And you said, is there anything? I actually asked you, where are the problems? I can't remember the order in which this happened, but essentially your answer was, I need to pass over the mix one more time. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. That, I think, is not how I would be thinking about what you need to do. I think it would be much better for you to say, there's a bit of distortion at that point in the piano, so I need to fix that. So Luke, why might I be saying giving Duke? Why might I be going? If you two got married, that's what you'd be called, Duke. Oh God, I've lost my thread now. Or Duke or Lace. I don't know. It's up to you. But so what is the why might I be saying that to Jace? That I wouldn't be saying I need to pass over the mix one more time, and instead saying I need to fix that mistake that I noticed or that problem.
Because if you, sorry, the delay again. If you just say I need to pass over the mix one more time, you're not really defining what actually needs to be done. It's like you're opening up a can of infinity. versus a can of non-rabbit hole
Exactly.
problems.
Yeah. If you haven't heard a problem in something, then it's like the assumption, it's almost like the assumption behind I need to pass over the mix one more time is that if I've missed this, then I must have missed 5,000 other things. Right? But if you put yourself in if you put yourself into that kind of a space, then literally you will infinitely be, I mean, it's almost like your mind is so powerful that it can create problems where there are none. Right? We only have the data we have to go on. We need to focus on the actual problems that there are in a piece of music, rather than thinking that problem means that there are 5,000 others. Right? We need to actually we need to be realistic about what we are hearing and trust that to a certain extent. Obviously, you know what I'm about not trusting ourselves at the same time, but we need to trust that in a sense and say, right, I heard that problem, I'm going to fix that. Does that make sense, Jace?
Makes perfect.
Yeah.
And it's a recurring problem of mine.
I think we may well have identified the reason that you're finding it hard to let things be released, in fact. Because you're focusing,
Nailed it.
You're focusing on infinity rather than the finite problems that you have.
Every time.
Yes. So, right. So, great. Well, I'll know what our first conversation is partly going to be about then anyway. So when we talk soon.
Yeah.
So I thought it was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. I mean, there is always feedback to give. Yeah, but I'm not sure it's that useful in this situation to give it particularly, because it's like it's almost like any feedback that I could give could well make it worse. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there is something, and it's not really feedback about this track, but there is almost something that I would like to put a question to you, though, Jace. And I'll pass over to Luke or Arash. So it's a kind of stylistic question, I think. Yeah. So you presumably you did this, and you use Logic, don't you? So you did this in a hotel room with like orchestral instruments and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm wondering if, because this would be, I mean, imagine what this would sound like if it was recorded with real, actual violins and everything, and pianos and everything like that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying go and do that because that would be ridiculous at this point, right? In your career, probably. I mean, it would be great, but it would also be ridiculous. But what I'm wondering is with that kind of level of sort of compositional ability and everything like that, what would your music sound like if you weren't making it with instruments? You were making it with instruments which weren't like samples of instruments. Does that make sense?
It would sound like what's in my
It's like
right now.
It would sound like what's in your automatic music machine right now. Brilliant. All right, well, there you go. No more.
That's what I've been doing.
Right, because I think you've got a real opportunity here, Jace. Because the thing is like, it sounds great, and it sounds great, but there is always that thing. I mean, when I came back to making music, I got all excited about orchestral sounds and Spitfire stuff and everything like that. You know what I mean? It's like the big. But there was something about it that I found kind of like it put a barrier between me and the music when I listened back to it. In that it's not quite like a software emulation of a synth. It's not quite like that. It's something. It's almost. It doesn't matter how great the orchestral sample is for me, unless of course you're writing film music or TV music, which may well be, and this may well be that. so I don't know, but certainly if as an artist, I kind of felt that it was. I don't know. There was a kind of a level of abstraction away from the actual thing that. It put a barrier between me and it. So I started thinking, well, what is it that I like about the orchestral well, that's such a vague word, isn't it? Orchestral sounds. But what is it I like about violins? What is it that the cellos are bringing to this? What is it that the trumpets are? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and it's not so much that I'm trying to recreate orchestral sounds on synths, but it's almost like, what would my music sound like if I wasn't using the samples like that? Now, that's just a personal preference again, but I just wanted to ask you that question because for me, sometimes I think, and this is an opinion again, trying to make something sound like something that is out there, it's almost like there's a little bit of a disconnect there. Does that make sense?
It's huge. And why a big part of me now is about taking these instruments and synthesizing,
Yeah.
distorting them,
Yeah.
creating motion,
Yeah.
taking them away from trying to imitate the real thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost like you're not trying to make them sound more like the actual thing. You're trying to make it sound less like the actual thing.
Yeah.
That's certainly where I've come to with all this, because a lot of my early stuff when I came back to making music, it had all these big orchestral things in it, and I was like, there's something not quite connecting for me there. Anyway, Arash and Luke, did you have anything to add to Jace? Let's go with Arash first time. I'll direct it to make it easier for you to decide.
Me?
Yeah, Arash, yeah.
That was fire, Jace. I mean, there was so much love coming through on YouTube. I was just like, what's the issue here? Why aren't you releasing it? Like, there's something, like Mike said, when there's such a vulnerability to playing your stuff in front of people. And the level that's amplified because now it's like online, right? You're spreading it out to tons of people. So he's absolutely correct when he says you are going to listen to this in a completely different way. And we're all kind of like, drop it, dog. Like, it sounds so good. So keep doing what you're doing, man. This was great to hear and exciting. I'm excited to hear what else comes from you.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to all. I really, really.
Oh, good. Luke, do you have anything to add?
I mean, yeah, I thought you nailed pretty much everything. Great arc, great like storyline sort of in it. It definitely like took me somewhere. It had its peaks, it had its troughs, it had motion, harmonically, volume wise. I thought that was great. There were like a few points, I think kind of like Mike said, where like some of the instruments sounded like spot on, like they were real. And then there were a few where like you can just hear at the start of the note. It's like, and I guess because I use those things where I'm like, oh, like I know that's not a real flute. I think it was the flute, kind of like 3/4 of the way through. I would have trouble knowing exactly where that was.
Yeah.
But there were a few like note starts that kind of took me out of the space of like magical dreamland and took me back. And that might be because I have a lot of those samples too, and I can just hear it. So like I would think that would be like a space thing where it's like, I'm not sure if anyone else is saying anything. I have it muted, but yeah, that was like my only thing that I heard. I mean, I still love it. It's so great.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that's one of those things. I mean, I certainly think if you are trying to make something that isn't the thing sound like the thing, then it can lead you all down all sorts of rabbit holes. I was playing around with the Arturia ARP 2600, and before I got it, I was just looking up some reviews, and everyone seemed to be so obsessed with how similar to the original it sounded, and I was like, for me, that's kind of beside the point, because to me, it's just whether it actually sounds good. Yeah, whether the thing sounds good. And I think one of the problems, I think this might be why I feel the disconnect, is that it's almost like this stated aim of a lot of the kind of orchestral type sample libraries, and I mean particularly wind stuff. It's really hard to get that right, I think. And also, it's like it's almost impossible to sound like that. I mean, having said that, I am using pianos in my music, and I don't actually have a piano, so that is an ongoing question for me personally, as well. But that's the only thing I would really say about it. This is so ready for release. It's not funny, apart from that one problem that you identified, which was the distortion on the piano. So I didn't hear it, but anyway, if you heard it, that's cool. So well done, Jace. Keep it up, and I'll look forward to talking very soon. Next in line,
We've got Dave Knight.
Dave. Okay, so that's Elvis Knight.
Sample libraries, and I mean particularly wind stuff. It's really
Oh,
hard.
I think you need to mute the YouTube. Yeah, there we go. Great. Are you there?
Apologies, guys. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No worries at all. All good. This all very, very confusing. I apologise for this sort of hacked together live stream that we've
Good
got.
fun. It's good fun.
Excellent.
Jumping between one and the other.
Brilliant. So
I just want to say I have to follow Jay now.
yeah. So where are you at musically? Like where are you at on your musical journey? How long have you been making music and all that kind of thing?
Well, I've been making music a long time, but not of any particularly great quality or with any success, but always with a love of it.
Okay.
And trying to improve.
Excellent. So
and the reason
you go on. Sorry. Go on.
The reason I kind of wanted to put this piece of music in is that playing electronic music for me is completely new to me since I joined the Leap. So I've no idea, other than I like bits and pieces, whether it's any good or not, or what. That's that. And really, I'm just trying to find out if I'm going in the right direction.
Okay.
And I have another question, but maybe I'll leave that till when we listen to it. Okay,
so one of the things I just want to say before we play anything is this. So you've been making music a very long time. Item one. Item two, you haven't been making electronic music very long at all. So what number class? How many times have you done the Leap?
This is the second time.
Okay, so you've done the Leap twice. So you've been doing it about 6 months, let's say. Right. So that leads you to believe that you don't know what you're doing making electronic music, even though you've been making music a long time.
Well, not necessarily. It's just the genre is different.
Right. So
and to learn how to use it and the techniques, I suppose, I'm using Auxy at the moment.
Okay. No, that's absolutely. So using Auxy, but the thing I want to ask you is how might not knowing electronic music and not knowing the techniques, how might that be your greatest strength right now?
I'm learning something completely new. I'm pushing myself to try new things. I used to rely on my band members, fellow band members, to play the bass, the drums, and other sounds and instruments. So I'm doing all of this. So I'm learning this way. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
For me,
yeah. So
it's different.
Right. So as a learning process, but how could it be which is absolutely true. So fantastic. But how could it be? How could it potentially, if you thought about this in a particular way, be the very thing that means that you make the very best possible music at this point?
Well, there's no preconceived ideas because I've no kind of what's the word for it? No
frame of reference.
Hang it on at all.
Yeah. No frame of reference.
Frame of reference. That's it. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, that's okay. So you're in a situation where you don't actually know what's what, and so you don't know what the rules are. so-called rules. You know what the rules are. You don't know what the traditions are. You don't know. You don't know anything. So in that situation, you are actually ideally placed to be potentially doing something different.
Like a fish in a goldfish bowl.
Right. Yes. Exactly. So yeah, you don't know what the water is. So the point being is that, I mean, this is what I say to a lot of beginners as well, who start getting all kind of obsessed with techniques and what the right thing is to do and what the wrong thing is to do. Is like, you're not going to have this, because you're not a beginner in music, right? But you are a beginner in electronic music. So I'm definitely not saying don't learn stuff. But what I am saying is recognize that this particular point, I mean, I envy you in many ways. This particular point in your musical development is not going to be there forever. And so you want to almost revel in it in a way, because you've got an opportunity that's going to go away. And it's like Pandora's box. Once the cat's out the bag, I'm mixing metaphors here, but anyway, once the cat's out the bag, it ain't going to get back in, right? So it's like, while yes, learn stuff and learn what people expect, you also have an opportunity to do something different. Okay.
Okay.
So
thanks, Mike.
Yes, but I'm going to have a listen. We're going to have a listen now. So, and I'm going to make sure that it's not too loud. Right, brilliant. Cool. All right. Ardash, let's go to Ardash first.
So I enjoyed, as soon as it dropped, that woo. I was like, oh, caught my attention immediately. So that was a great hook. And I'm such a huge fan of two-step broken beat music. So when your drum patterns came in, I was like, okay, this is very Bugs in the Attic-y. And that's like totally up my alley. I love spinning that kind of music. So like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. What I had noticed is that you have your main loops, which your primary loops were your drum pattern and your bass line. And then you had layers on top of it to accentuate these moments. But it was pretty much the same thing, where you removed some layers and then you added some layers. So what I would be looking at is the arc of it, and how could you bring more of an arc to this moment?
Yeah, thanks, Irish. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. I think it's pretty quickly done as a splurge, so it needs to be remixed, and I need to think about where it's going, and things like that. But it's good to hear that it's an arc, that there's kind of hooks there already. That's kind of thing that I like about it. Is kind of like it's got a bit of a I suppose, as you say, it's kind of instantly catchy with the bass line riff, I think. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay, good. I've lost my echo, which is great.
Yeah. So
Yeah, the
Mike
echo disappeared.
Yeah, so Mike, if you're working, whatever magic you're working.
Brilliant.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, no, that was yeah. So it's I mean, that's the next step for me, is to develop those types of how to do that within the electronic ideas of the music that I'm doing now. How to do that. And I suppose that's the next bit of learning that I need.
How would you do it if it wasn't? I'm going to let you talk in a minute, Luke. I just had to ask a question when I heard you say that. How would you do it if it wasn't electronic?
Ooh. I suppose you'd be trying to play it in as a piece, and if you say, because my guitar would be my instrument,
right,
and you're trying to put emotion into how you play, and maybe rise and fall it in to get a bit more energy at certain points than other points.
Right. So, I think I know why the echo is happening. But anyway, I can't do anything about it now because it's not going to work. So anyway, I just figured it out. I just figured it out. So someone said the
no problem.
The echo had gone. I realised what it is. But anyway, so what I might suggest is just doing it as if it wasn't electronic, because I think what you're doing is you're putting up a psychological barrier. You go, well, this is something different. This is something different. So therefore, I had to learn how they do it before I do it. It's like, no, you don't. It's music, right? I mean, none of it. You could use the same. Mm-hmm. This path thing is the same in every kind of music.
Yeah, exactly right, Mike. I just, that's you've hit it again, the nail on the head. I'm thinking that the problem is the genre of music, but it's not. It's actually, if I approach it like any music, I should be able to do it. So and trust myself to be able to do it.
Yeah, we human beings seem to have this desire to silo everything into like separate subject areas. So, and it doesn't make any. It kind of doesn't make any sense, because music is music. I mean, I get it for like Spotify, or if you're listening to music, then it does make sense, because people want to know where to find the things that they like. Where is that? I'm eating porridge. I need that playlist of music to eat porridge by. It's somewhere here. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, so they need to know where the thing is that they're looking for. So that works. But when you're actually thinking about making music itself, yes, there are certain tropes and things that certain genres of music do, but I mean, to be honest with you, they often get very, very tired. So if somebody who doesn't make electronic music comes along and starts, but understanding why those tropes are there, because the tropes, the rules, the things that people do all the time aren't actually right. They're just what people have done over and over again because they deliver on something which music itself delivers. Yeah. So, for instance, the drop in EDM, or the payoff, and the reason I'm not calling it the drop is because this works for any kind of music. Yeah. The drop in EDM is the payoff, right? Now, and the reason that it's there is because it releases the most tension. Yeah, it's kind of it's the point of the track in a sense in time, whereas the thing is the point of the track as a kind of part. Yeah. So, but that doesn't mean that you have to have a drop in all electronic music in that way. It's just that that's what people have done because it.
That's what people have. Yeah.
So
they expect it.
Exactly. So anyway, Luke, you were going to say something to David.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was just looking at. The echo's gone. Hooray! Yeah, I mean, it seemed like you had most of the things. I would think like if with the arc. I was thinking like it could almost go down a little bit more, and then that way when it's up, it's more up.
Back in again, up higher. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, like it definitely had a point where the energy dipped and like it dropped back to the bass. What would you say? Like, I mean, in the past thing, it says like, what environment could the music be creating? Like, how would you talk about space of that track?
I kind of got a vibe which is kind of like a 70s cop TV introduction theme or something like that. That's where, but with a kind of like, that's kind of the idea. It was like the little key thing that was, the little thing was like the equalizer or something like that. So I was thinking something like that, getting that kind of vibe, but not, I don't know because I don't know of no reference for it really, I like the bass riffs in it, the heaviness and the basses in it. I like that,
So,
and I like the little I like the string things coming in at the end because it gave it another energy again. And as I say, I'm still learning. So I hear everything you're saying about the arc and try and put it to say in a context, maybe in another music that I understand a bit more. Like, I was thinking, say somebody like Radiohead, they would have been perfect at doing the drop in that genre of music, when they take out everything and then everything comes back in really, really.
No. Yeah. So there is, I think, an optimal build order here, right? So, what is the thing in this track, or what do you want to be the thing in this track?
Well, I thought it was the bass intro thing at the beginning. Straight away.
Well, I mean, it could be, and I mean that's
it could be that. Yeah. And then the other thing is the drum beat thing is it's got a kind of a roadie kind of thing feel to it.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of rolling along, and it makes you tap your feet.
So essentially that groove, that bass line groove with drum beat is the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now. Yeah. What you will notice in your current arrangement is that comes in, well, not comes in, that is left remaining after a bunch of other stuff has come out, right? So it's like it goes like this. There's stuff builds up like this, and then that stuff kind of comes out. I don't think it all comes out at the same time, but it kind of gradually comes out, and then eventually you end up with the kind of clear articulation of the thing. So essentially, now that you know what the thing is, so that's the first, you've identified what that is. What you next want to do is figure out how to make that the payoff. Yeah. Now, obviously, in everything I've been saying about electronic music, one thing you could do is you could go and listen to, I don't know, a techno track or something like that, and listen to their payoffs. But what I might suggest doing is not doing that, and actually listen to Radiohead, and listen to how they do. The payoff, right? Because I think this is kind of going back into what I was talking to you about not being like put into the prison of like electronic music's tropes and rules and expectations and everything like that, because you've got an opportunity here. Because it delivers the same elements in terms of payoff, arc, thing, hook, all of that kind of stuff. It just does it in a slightly different way. So after the thing, identify what the payoff is. That will give you some information about the arc, right?
Yeah.
Because you've already you know what the thing is. You've got the payoff kind of identified, right? That gives you kind of information about the arc, and at the same time, that might also get you thinking about how the space, where things need to be in the space you're creating. Now, that's not always the optimal build order. Sometimes, this is why we have the paths thing, because there's lots of different paths, because they're all dependent on everything else. It's one of the difficult things about making music, right? But I would suggest at this stage that would be the optimal build order for this.
Okay, Mike. Yeah. I'm going to give it a go and listen to it again and try and work with the paths system, which looks great, by the way. Thanks for sharing that with us.
No worries.
I had one other question for you guys about. I've got a new job, right? So I've been working full time. It's a brand new full time job with a lot of responsibility for me that I have to learn and apply myself. So I'm very much restricted in the time I have now, and that's the reason why I've been doing everything in Oxy, and they've all been MVCs. MVSs or MVCs, I can never remember.
MVS, minimum viable session.
MVSs.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't need to remember the lingo.
So that whole track was a splurge, a minimum viable splurge. So, and I haven't done anything to it at all since. You can probably tell. And so the question I have is, and it goes to the idea of what you were talking about before about, when do you release things and just taking a risk, and how much do you have to do to a track, before it's ready because for me, it doesn't bloody matter really, like I could happily put that out tomorrow, probably now at this stage, and I'd say, yeah, that's grand, but like, where do you draw the line, and how do you do that, and how do you set yourself those parameters, or those kind of limitations that you can say, well, I've got this amount of time to do it, and how do you do it? I have that question in my head.
Art is never finished, only abandoned. So let me ask you, Elvis, where are you going to draw the line?
I'm kind of I'm half thinking that I would try and like give myself a limited time on this track now, and every one of the tracks that I've got that are kind of close to this level, I think, and then I'm going to try and follow you guys and see if I can release a track a week next year, maybe. I had planned to release. I had about 13 or 14 tracks at this level, and I was just going to put them out there to see what happened, because I've never released anything on my own. That's all my own work. That I've never done that. I never had the confidence to do anything like that before. But as you say, I've got a little bit more freedom because it's a genre that I know nothing about. So I've no kind of what was the word you used? You said something there. Words. I've no kind of context for what I'm trying to do, or
frame of reference,
because of what I think it is.
Yeah, exactly. So like in terms of how much is too much, and when is it finished, and all that kind of stuff. Really, it's just another choice that you have to make. Yeah. Now, because there is always something to improve. There is never a point at which there isn't something that could get better. That like I could if Mozart was sitting next to me now, I'd say, Wolfgang, is the magic flute perfect? I guarantee you that in Austrian he would say no, Mike Monday. Of course not. Yeah, but I guess he probably had a deadline or something. And whereas the people who listen to the magic flute, I'm sure there's a lot of people who believe it's perfect, but it's not. Yeah, it's like that. There is always something to improve. So that means that basically, if you do actually want to put music out and make progress over the course of your career, you do need to put out stuff that isn't perfect. It's because by definition, that's not to say that you don't want to improve the music. So at the end of the day, what you've got to do is you've got to make a conscious choice as to where your definition of finished is, what that is going to mean for you. And it can mean different things for different projects. It can mean different things at different stages in your career. It can mean all kinds of different things. But you do need to be clear about what that means. I mean, at this stage, what a kind of lens I might put around your decision is, it's finished when I've learnt something about what I'm doing. Now, so now you've probably already learned something about what you're doing in this music. Well, maybe I've learned something new about what I'm doing. Yeah, and you could even define it further. It's like when I've learned.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. When I've learned something, or when I've learned something about that I've never done before. I mean, there's lots of different ways that you could define it. Because because
I mean, my good instinct.
Yeah, go on.
My good instinct is to say, I'm just going to try and maybe put stuff out, even though I know it's not, probably as good as it could possibly be, that it could be improved on all the time, but nearly to do it like a learning process, because the splurges are coming and the music is always there. There's always, like with the automatic music machine, I've always got stuff that's there. That's the next track coming along and stuff like that. So I can do it, and maybe I will improve as I go, as I do it each time. There'll obviously be steps back, and you won't make, and you'll make rubbish.
It'll be like that. Yeah.
Like, it'll be like that. Yeah. But at least I'll be able to get it out there and learn something by putting it out there as well. Like, even playing it here in front of everybody, like, it's a big step for me, which, I was very nervous about that, which I've now done that, and I'm delighted I've got over that kind of a step forward, taking that step forward.
Yeah, I mean, people make a fundamental error in when they're kind of sort of growing their skills and everything, is that they compare themselves to the very best who have been doing it for absolutely years, and probably have a team of people who are doing some of the stuff as well. Let's face it, and so they compare their music to that, and so they don't ever finish anything. Right, not realizing that the finishing of the music is the thing that will get them to that. Yeah, they're standing at the bottom of the mountain, looking at the top, going, "Oh man, if only I was at the top of the mountain. It looks so beautiful up there. Oh God!" But refusing to take a step up because they're not at the top of the mountain. That's just sheer insanity. It doesn't make any sense. But that's what people are doing a lot of the time. They're not finishing anything, which is the step they need to take in order to learn what they need to learn to get to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Dave.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Irish. Thanks, Luke.
No worries.
Appreciate your time and all the great work you're doing in the Leap and the automatic music machine.
Fantastic.
I'll see you in the next one.
Nice one.
Cheers.
Okay. I seem to remember we had Chocolatey Rich as our next leaper.
We do have Chocolatey Rich. There he is.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. There's that voice.
Wow.
It's the voice we all know and love. so
thanks, man.
so where are we? Okay, let's find this thing. Now
I'm so stoked the echo's gone in time.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, you have no idea how happy I am.
Yeah, no, it's so annoying, isn't it? It's really hard to deal with. Sorry about that.
I can't imagine.
So, all right. Oh yeah, no. First of all, so let's actually ask the question. So, where are you at with your music, Rich? You're a kind of similar to Jay, sort of trained musician in various different ways, right? So,
I've had my knuckles wrapped the odd time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been making music of various kinds for years and years. Went through the piano, went all the way through that, and I've been doing a lot. My background, though, as far as sort of the more pop side of stuff, has been, kind of like Elvis there, like think Radiohead or The Verve or that kind of stuff. And but then more recently, like the last couple of years, I've got more interested in doing more kind of electronic based stuff. Even just working in a DAW. I've got hardware stuff too that I like, but I decided to try and see what I could do if I just had headphones and a laptop.
Great.
Kind of thing. So that was one of the things that was on my mind when I got involved with the Leap.
Fantastic. And you've this track is called number 363. So you're using that the method. Actually, I've got a masterminder who numbers his tracks. That's how he does it, because he likes it. Because there's a trade-off here, is that well, the good thing about it is that it means you don't remember them so well, which is good because you kind of forget your preconceptions and everything. And it's funny because he's on like 1,980 or something. So when we're doing feedback in mastermind sessions, so I go into his automatic music machine and he goes, so which one is it? And he was like, 2,338. I'm like, okay. So it's quite funny. So because he's been doing this a while. So
yeah, technically it's a dumbed down title because I also will include key and BPM and date.
Right.
But
right.
just for the purpose of uploading, as
yes,
nobody needs to know that.
No, absolutely. Okay. So yeah, and also, what state is this? Like, where is it in the machine?
It's in release.
It's in release. Okay, cool.
This was from this round, and I have taken a crack at mixing it. It's not mastered though.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah,
let's check it out. Here we go. Great. So I know I need to go and avail myself of the facilities. So Luke, can you and that's got nothing to do with your track, by the way, Rich. so
that's either really good or really bad.
yeah, exactly. So I'm jumping around a bit here. So I think I need to go and do that now. So Luke, why don't you take this one away, and I'll be back in a sec.
Yeah. So I'll do the standard mic opener. What now that you've listened to it with the world watching you, what did you notice about it?
Mostly just stuff that translates differently over the platforms. So yeah, just like the actual sonics sounded very different to what I'm used to kind of hearing out of the speakers, or even just kind of directly, I think. So I don't know whether there's things going on in the mix that will need tweaking or something like that. I don't know. But as far as the overall impact, I felt pretty good about it still, I guess, or it felt like it was doing what it needed to do.
Yeah, I liked it. Have you ever listened to Black Moth Super Rainbow? Have you ever heard of them?
No, I've heard the name, but no, I can't say that I could really kind of put a sound to the name.
Definitely the part at the end reminded me of some of their vibes. Yeah, I liked it. I thought there was like definitely a clear payoff and a clear arc. I'm trying to like remember the whole thing. Like there was definitely, it felt like a space that was being created. Corey's heard of Black Moth. Let me think. I felt like in the middle, I think it was the middle. It kind of got down. It might have been down like too long, maybe. That's
right.
That's
Just
like my
20 seconds too long or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, I mean, like, what would you say the thing and the hook were?
Yeah. I guess I've operated under the presumption that the thing is probably that kind of the very first synth pad thing that comes in, and as far as the hook, maybe the second that second kind of bell-like synth that comes in, maybe. This
Yeah,
wasn't yeah, I mean, this wasn't as hooky a track as I sometimes kind of go for in that sense. Like when I sort of think hook, I usually try and start right out of the gate. But this is a bit more of a, for me anyway, this is a bit more of a kind of a lo-fi study to maybe or something kind of track. So I let it kind of progress a little more slowly that way. But that's kind of what I'm thinking anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I was thinking like maybe like midway. I think what happened, if my memory is correct, is that like the main sort of lead sound, which I think it was a bell. It kind of, I think it's like in the whole time, right? Am I wrong on that?
It doesn't start with it.
It doesn't start with it, but then once it starts, it goes the whole time.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
I almost wanted that to drop for a little bit.
Right.
It felt like it never stopped, and it was. I mean, does it stay the same most of the time? Is it a?
It's kind of it's a kind of a longer pattern. Like at the very end of each section, it kind of goes up to kind of hit a top note.
Right. Okay.
At the end of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I liked it. I was thinking maybe if that could either drop or change even more. And then, yeah, I like the payoff with like the big synth lead. I thought it could be cool. And I was thinking like if Mike Monday were listening to this, what would he be thinking? And I was thinking that, and maybe it did this, but I was thinking like, okay, so there's that big like lead that's kind of like the big sound. And like you have like a few, it doesn't sound like it's reference. Maybe it is, and I'm just dumb and would need to listen again. But it sounded like, so you have like your main melody. And then I wanted it to like play that melody almost like after and then change it, whereas it felt like it's introducing a new melody, and I was wanting it to kind of like say the old melody in a different way, if that makes sense.
Right.
Whereas it felt
Right.
like it was almost like a guitar solo where it wasn't hitting a pattern, if you will. I think, but I'm, like I said, I might be really dumb, and they could be actually hitting a pattern, and I need to listen again.
It kind of, I mean, basically what I did with that, it's interesting because that payoff thing, that happened much later. That kind of big synth lead, that was something that was improvised after most of the rest of it was done. And so all I did was after I'd kind of improvised that melody, then I just bumped it up an octave, just repeated it up an octave and messed around a little bit with the processing, which is, again, that's a little differently than I tend to do things when it comes to melodic stuff like that. Anyways, often I'll just improvise a line all the way through, and more like you were saying, kind of guitar solo styles or whatever. So for this one, I did it that way. But
can I ask?
Anyway, yeah.
What are you saying? What is the thing to you in this at the moment?
Yeah. Well, the way I've thought about it is the thing is that first synth pad.
Boop boop. That thing. That or no?
The very first, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Right
So
there,
yeah.
already.
So. Okay, that's interesting. I'll have to think about that. You've got
In some ways it feels like the thing is kind of a long drawn out combination of that pad, then the bell, and then the
yeah.
It's
Actually,
like
what I was thinking when I first heard it was Prefab Sprout. Do you know Prefab Sprout? Yeah.
No.
Prefab Sprout. You've got to check it. Prefab Sprout. You've got to check out this guy. It's very like, you might not like it at first, but he's one of the best songwriters I've ever heard. I can't remember his name now. It's absolutely amazing. He did this, and it was kind of annoying. It was annoying because he did this hit. He wrote this song called "King of Rock and Roll," and it was a massive hit. And it was really funny because it was about a one-hit wonder band, and he was the king of rock and roll. And that song got him this massive. It was like a massive worldwide hit back in the 80s, and he got this massive worldwide hit, and then he kind of disappeared. But he did all this music, and he's like. Like that, it was almost like that track was different from everything else as well. So it was really funny how it was such a meta kind of thing. But anyway, it just made me think of Prefab Sprout. But anyway, because I can hear how you've made that pad the thing, but if you kind of think about the thing being what is this song's purpose? I mean, what is this track's purpose, if you like? What's the point of it? What was it doing?
Yeah,
that's a hard question to answer. It's a very hard question to answer sometimes, but it's a useful question to answer.
It's fine. I think of this as sort of somewhere in this sort of ambient kind of chill out kind of forum, I guess, for obvious reasons, tempo and all that kind of stuff. So it's not designed to kind of be something that you get into a trance or something like that. Because I did have a kind of an arc in mind, I guess. But it's decidedly not, in my opinion, not as hooky as things can be.
Well, I think the hook in this is the boop 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 boop, that thing. That's the hook. And it's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting because like the thing tends to be. I've yet to find something where it isn't. Right, it tends to be the element or elements that when it is removed, it creates the most tension. Is that true of that pad sound?
Let's see. It drops out, and then that conga comes in. And so I guess in some ways, the most tension is when the beat and the bass line come out.
Right. So I think that's where, because Luke was saying I wanted something I've noticed is that when somebody is saying, like, there's a couple of things that like people will often say about music. One is, oh, it could really do with the vocal. Another is, oh, it's just getting a bit boring. Right. Now that's, both of those things are very, very, it's useless feedback basically, because it's like, well, why? Why does it need a vocal? And why is it getting, well, no, not that Luke said it was getting boring, right? It's like, I wanted something to change. Yeah. So why is that the case? And I think we might be getting to the reason that that's the case here with this conversation now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? In that and I can hear how you have actually, so you've identified the thing as being the pad, and then the arrangement does actually do that. So the pad comes back, and you have actually created, because when I heard it, I was like, oh God, then that's a good payoff right there. But I was a little bit confused, because at the same time I was like, but hang on a minute. So you kind of put a question into my mind about my whole kind of thinking around this, in fact, so well done. But then yeah, exactly, in your face, Mike Monday. So but in the conversation that we're now having, I think I'm realizing that maybe the problem, if you like, with this track is that at this point, the way that the music is, that what you have identified or decided is the thing, and even though you've done what you would do with the thing, it comes back when the payoff happens. Is there's something about that part that doesn't increase the tension the most when it is removed. Now, right. I'm not saying that the thing can never be a pad, because I don't know. I've never tried it. I'm going to now, so thank you again for that. But I'm not saying a thing can never be a pad. But at this point, it's not doing the thing that the thing needs to do.
Yeah, I got you.
Apart from at the payoff, where you've actually. But I think that's more a function of what else comes in, not the pad coming back.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, no, totally. It was funny. I knew that I'd be asked, "What's the thing in this?" That's some of these are kind of new ways of thinking about this stuff for me, and so I was sort of scrambling even before going, "What do I think the thing is?" And so and so that all makes sense.
Yeah. I know. That's what's so great about models and these kind of overlays, maps that we put over stuff, is it clarifies things. And we've got to remember, again, it's not truth. It's just a way of looking at stuff, which helps. It's a way of making sense of chaos. So
it can be really helpful to kind of cut through stuff to kind of get to where the actual problems, maybe. Yeah.
But having said all that, Rich, I still would release this. I just, again, I think it's great, and Prefab Sprout are literally one of my favorite bands of all time. And
oh wow,
and so for me to say that, and just go and check out. They're one of those bands where you don't want to check out just their hits but you want to check out everything and listen to the lyrics as well. I'm not really a big lyrics person, but this guy's lyrics are just like insane. He's the most amazing songwriter.
Right on.
And now he's got this really big beard. It's like a kind of hippie guy, and it's really funny because in the 80s it was totally different. But anyway, so yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, and also possibly responsible for one of the most annoying choruses in the world, but that's because he was writing about a pop singer singing that kind of music. So he actually made the tune, and it's hilarious how that happened. Anyway, sorry, I keep on talking about Prefab Sprout. Don't get me started. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. Cheers, Rich. Brilliant. Keep it up.
Right on. Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for all your feedback.
Yeah, I'll see you in the next leap class. Yeah.
Mike, could you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Could you argue that
Yeah, go on.
I was gonna ask about pads being the thing. I thought about porcelain, Moby.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'll have to have another listen because
That was the only example.
no,
that was the only
yeah.
example that I thought of, and it might not.
I'm going to write down. I'm going to write this down. Okay, right. So this is the other thing about theories and models is that the way I approach everything that I do is that it's constantly improving and works in. It's a work in progress. So what I tend to do, I want to find somewhere where I can write this where it like doesn't show my bank details or something. So where can I write it? I'm going to write it in here.
I will send you a note.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
there we
send
go.
you a note about it if.
That's the thing to do. Because I was just about to open up like a notes
Yeah.
thing, and there might be all sorts of private information in there. So which is going out live over YouTube. So yeah, remind me to have a listen to Nova. Yeah, no, because like we're constantly testing these theories and these models in order to improve them. And I think this is one of the ways that I distrust like specific workflows and specific, very, very granular things, because it's like it's almost like they don't allow for error correction. And as my new hero David Deutsch says, error correction is the beginning of infinity. So when somebody comes in and says, well, how about this track, how does that, it's like, well, it's an opportunity to actually see where the model could be improved, or how it doesn't work in this case, because again, it's not reality, so it's always going to not work in some case, and that's how we improve. Problems are inevitable, problems are soluble. Anyway, so remind me to do that. I'll have a listen to that later.
I just have one thought as you want to pull up the next person, but part of there was a point when I was listening to it, Rich, that I was just like, I'm waiting for the next thing to happen. And the reason I felt that way is your bass line was the same thing throughout the whole song. So it got monotonous after a certain point, and I was just waiting for something else to happen with your bass line. So I feel like there might be an opportunity as you move forward in creating new material, because you should just get this out. This is great. To consider how can you make certain elements within your track even have an arc, right? Because that's the thing I focus on, and I think I focus on arc a lot just because I come from a DJ background and a pop background, right? That's like what I get exposed to the most. So it's constant shifts, it's constant change. There's an A section, there's a B section. So I don't want to like get granular with this, but I just want you to think about moving forward. How else can you provide elements or an arc within some of the elements that you were working with in your track?
Yeah, totally. As I think about it, I could have, like in the payoff, I could have added, an octave double even, or something like, or like not like, a rhythmic doo doo or something like that, just an extra note kind of thing in the bass, and something as small as that can have a big impact on how we perceive things progressing. So yeah, totally.
Great. Wonderful. Let's move on.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Rich. Let's move on to who's next? Who's our next victim?
It's like we've got Ryan Bent.
Ryan,
you're on.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. So, where are you at in your musical journey, Ryan? Let's just get a bit of a context.
Yeah, so just real quick. So I've just been kind of tinkering around, I'd say for like a year and a half. I had like 4 tracks done, and then when I joined this leap, it accelerated. Like I have so many splurges, and I have quite a few in discovery, at least over 10. And then I have about 8 in my done that I'm trying to move into. Or they're in my draft that I'm trying to move into done, and I have 3 in done right now.
Right.
So it's for me. It was always just it was just kind of a hobby, but surprisingly during COVID I was laid off, and I've been able to put more time into this right now. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise.
Isn't everything?
So, yeah.
If you look at it the right way. Life gives you lemons, and what do? We make lemonade. Right. So so you've been going about a year and a half. Is that is that when you started from cold? So was there any musical training or anything before that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I played the trumpet back in middle school, and I played the guitar.
Awesome.
And then I played around with like this MTV music generator on PlayStation. I don't know if y'all remember that. That was a while back, like in high school. But as far as like music production, yeah, I would say only about a year and a half.
Okay.
But seriously, like really churning out music, I would say in the last 6 months.
Fantastic.
It's just really, I would watch YouTube tutorials and stuff. So yeah.
Oh yes, the rabbit hole, the endless rabbit hole of more information.
Right.
Yes. No. I think that a lot of people are familiar with that. It's something that I've never had to contend with myself. It's funny. Right now, I've been watching more of them in order to see what other people are saying and what they're doing and things like that. So I can see. I mean, even more. I mean, I kind of knew it conceptually, but I can see how addictive that they can be. But you got to remember with YouTube tutorials is that information isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for knowledge. Yeah. And the difference between information and knowledge is information that you are finding or learning or practicing or discovering in order to solve a specific problem that you have. Whereas information is infinite and endless. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And to that point was with the leap after a splurge. If let's say I was like, man, this synth sounded off. I didn't like the timbre I was able to create. I would go back and then I was telling Luke this. I was like, I'm able to kind of have like a curriculum now.
Exactly.
Okay, I need to learn how to do X.
Exactly.
And then once I do that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to apply that in my next splurge.
Oh, Ryan, you've literally made my day because you saying that is like job done as far as I'm concerned, because you've learned the thing about how to interact with, for instance, YouTube tutorials, which is make the music, right? Make something, figure out what you can't do, and there's probably a whole massive long list. Choose the most important one, learn about that, apply it. Forget about YouTube until you've applied it a few times, repeat. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, so let's have a listen to where you're at with this. Again, this one's on SoundCloud, so hopefully it won't deafen everybody. Let's go. Oh, we're good. Fabulous. So, the first question I have for you, in fact, before we say anything, I'll do the usual. So, what was your, listening to it in this context with everyone listening and everything else, what was your opinion, Ryan? What was your feedback to yourself?
Gosh, the bass was monotonous. After hearing the feedback from the tracks that on this call, that's the payload, right? Is the bass, the dun 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 dun, and the vocals kind of back.
That's the
up.
thing.
So
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
And it just, I kind of overplayed it. I think I should have pulled it away, because there's some songs I was listening to on some other labels. It sounds like they have the same bass, but they might be doing some more technical like modulation to the synths, which in a way make it sound somewhat different. But a lot of house music is repetitive by nature. But man, that bass just got monotonous really quick.
Okay, so you felt that the bass got monotonous. Now this is a mistake that people often make. Now you can definitely change the bass, but one of the reasons that you might be thinking that bass got monotonous is that, you don't have to change the thing in order to stop that being monotonous. I mean, you can. I'm not saying you don't, but you don't have to. Often you can change other things around it, which causes you to, I think, was it RS talking about recontextual, or was it Luke? I can't remember. With somebody else talking about recontextualizing the thing based upon what happens around it. Yeah. And I mean, this is one of the problems with getting so zeroed in on technical stuff. I'm not that you are, by the way, Ryan. I'm just saying in general. Yeah. Getting so zeroed in technical stuff is that when you get zeroed in on something, you don't actually notice these kind of higher order problems. Yeah. Because you're just listening to these other things, and you go, and so what can often end up happening is it's like you can hear the tiny little changes, but no one else can. Yeah, and this is one of the benefits to actually playing your music in a forum like this, or even putting your music out, is that you hear it differently because you're hearing it more as a listener, and that causes you to instantly kind of zoom out of all of this like stuff that you've been doing and go, hang on a minute, there's something that's very, I mean, I would say monotonous is probably a little harsh. Don't be so harsh on yourself, but you're saying something isn't changing. Now you could well change the bass line, change something about the bass line, the sound, or the effects, or the actual part. You could well do that, or you could change things around it. But I think just out of interest, did this by any chance come out of an opposite game? Did you do the opposite game on this one?
No. Surprising, no, I didn't.
No, because I really like the contrast between the two. You've got an A-B structure going on here, right? So there's the bass with the groove, and then there's the whoop thing, the
pads and exactly.
Yeah. So when you've got that kind of a structure, what usually happens, not always, it doesn't have to be, again, I don't want you to get into like this isn't a rule. This is just what usually happens is because you've got A, B, which contrasts with A, B. Hang on. Yeah, A, B, A, B, A. Yeah, and what often, particularly in this kind of music, that last A is the payoff. Yeah. So and the A section tends to be the thing. So in this case, it would be the bass line and the groove. Yeah. So what I might think about doing is, if that last return of A is the payoff, it's like you can take, because essentially the shape of it at the moment, and this is really the arc I'm talking about right now, and you can see how all these things are dependent on each other, right? But the shape of it is kind of like this, so it goes. It depends what I'm drawing the shape of, but if we talk about the kind of energy, I guess it's kind of like that, and then B it kind of goes down a bit, and then it goes up for A. But it's basically following the same shape. This is just the same thing repeated. And yes, there are things that are slightly different, but there's nothing materially different in each of those articulations of A and B. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that final one really wants to kind of deliver the gut punch, if you like. I mean, it doesn't have to be the final one. It could be the middle one. It depends how you want to do it. But one of them wants to be materially kind of more different. Now, that doesn't have to mean adding more stuff to the thing. What it can mean is removing more stuff before the final payoff. It's like taking it down further before the final payoff. Not the final payoff, the payoff, but the final moment. Yeah, the final bit between B and A. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, because at the moment, what I would describe the arc as being is, I mean, I do like the contrast, but it's just a bit flat because there's no overall arch. Yeah, it's like there's contrast between two sections 3 times. I think it's 3 times. I can't remember exactly, but let's say 3 times. But between those sections, there's no arc going on. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying there's got to be like, I guess, kind of a change in the transition itself.
Well,
into the A and B.
Well, okay. So if we say there's A and B, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So those are 2 different sections. So A is the baseline. Sorry, I'm not being clear. I know what I mean. You should know what I mean too. No, right. So there's A, which is the baseline, and there's B, which is the pad. Yeah. So those are 2 sections. Now we can, if we kind of zoom out, we can then further split this track up into 3 sections, each section of which is A and B. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's A, B, A, B, A, B. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Now the payoff could be the the bit where it goes from section 2 to section 3. Yeah, because you've got A, baseline, B, pad. Yeah. So that's section 2. Mm-hmm. And then you've got section 3, A, which is the baseline again. Yeah. And at the moment, what I'm saying is, while there are things that are slightly different, each of those 3 sections are essentially slight variations of the same thing. There's no shape between those sections. There's no kind of up and down amongst those. So while there's nice contrast between A and B, there's not it doesn't really, it's like everything's at the same height.
Yeah, so you're saying so you get like A and B, A and B, A and B, but what you're saying is there's not enough contrast between the second A and B or the third A and B compared to the first and the second.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Now, there are some tracks. Okay. A really good example of which is Solid Groove, This Is Sick. It's one of the best examples of A and B that there is. It's the most ridiculous tune you'll ever hear. And so Solid Groove, A and B, where actually there is no difference between I mean, there are differences, but there's very little material difference between these kind of meta sections, if you like, section 1, 2, and 3. But that's only because it's such a powerful contrast between those 2 sections that you can get away with it. It just does it over and over again. And I think part of the point of that particular track, and the reason I'm talking about it is because it's such a good example of what I'm talking about here. But the point of the track is, let's say, look what I can do. I can do this thing which is so ridiculous, and you're all dancing like nutters. And the point of it is he's just repeating this same thing over and over again. I think it's kind of like a track where he's kind of showing the middle finger to everyone, saying how great, because he really is. He's just a master, Dave Taylor. But anyway, so just so you know, there are examples of tracks where there is not very much difference between those different articulations of A and B. But if you're going to do that, the contrast between the A and B needs to be literally like, a kick in the, where the sun don't shine type thing. Yeah. Yeah. So what I would suggest in this track is that you think about how you could first take more out before that last, and I don't want to use the word transition because often it's one of those words that gets on my nerves, because sometimes you don't want to transition, you just want it to change, right? In fact, quite often. And so it's like you want to take stuff away from the B before you get to the A. Try that first, and that will, because often the problem I have with the word transitions is that the assumption is that you need to smooth them out, right? But actually, where effectiveness comes in a lot of music is in them not being smoothed out. It's the differential between the 2 sections that creates the impact.
It's what causes that.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's that contrast. Yeah, and that's why I have a problem with that word, and everyone's always going on about it all the time. It's like workflow as well. It's another word that bothers me. So so before you, because the natural thing for people to do with a bit of feedback like this would be, oh God, how am I going to make the third A? Yeah. When it goes from the second section to the third section, yeah, the third A. What am I going to add to that to make it much bigger? The trouble is that when you start thinking about in the first instance adding stuff, often what you can do is you can take away from the thing. You can actually take away the effectiveness of the thing because you're confusing people. So what I would like to see happening is, right, before you think about adding stuff to that final section, is what can you take away from the bit before the thing comes back? Because then you'll still get that different. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like maybe I pull some of the low end away from the bass on that B section before the next A, so it pulls the energy even more. Like
Absolutely.
maybe just hear more of the higher end, and then everything drops in.
So,
yeah, I was reading that it's better to strip back before the thing than to add more to the actual thing.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Like it's just, it's a kind of it's a schoolboy error, I call it. I make them all the time. So because we ask ourselves the question, what's missing? And then it's all about what questions we ask ourselves. If we ask ourselves what's missing, then we think we need to put something in. Often it's not what's missing, it's what is there that I can remove. Right? So
yeah.
I'm gonna open it up to the floor. Arash and Luke, did you have anything to add here? I'm sure you did.
I couldn't hear the pads, so I don't know if that was. So I feel like I'm a bit at a loss because I don't know if it was just the translation through everything. What I primarily heard.
That thing. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, let me think about it for a moment.
Yeah.
Luke, if you have something to say.
Yeah, I mean, I thought like just listening to other like dance tracks in that vein, like I've definitely heard tracks where it's literally like an A B A B A B, and that's like the whole track and very little changes. So like the fact that you have that contrast, I think works really well. Like there's this track I always go back to. It's by Shadow Child. I think it's String Thing. And it's literally like an intro, like pads, a groove that's like a main thing, pads breakdown, another groove, and like almost nothing changes in the groove, and it's just like 32 bars of dance. And I think like if you are trying to make music that's meant to be played like within a DJ set, I think that repetitiveness is fine, because like one thing I think that I've always found is what's too repetitive on at home listening is not repetitive enough for show listening, and like your instincts will change, or at least I don't know, I'd be curious to see if Arash thinks this, but I've definitely done things where like I'll edit a track and play it live, and then watching people live, it's like they want another 16 bars of what they just got, and they don't want to stop. Mm-hmm. So I would say, like, especially with this, which is clearly like dance music, and I want to get the other panelists' opinion on that, if they found in their DJ careers that, sometimes thinking something is repetitive is actually like the right amount of dance.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Never experienced that once. It's just got like, you're talking nonsense. Yeah, no, of course. Absolutely. Yeah, when you've got things playing on like a speaker that's, the size of Everest, it's all very, very different. How about you, Arash?
I didn't resonate with the personal feedback that this is monotonous. I agreed with what Mike is saying, is that it's possibly taking a look at what's around it. And so far, you tell me what are all the elements that you have in case I missed something. I don't think I did now, but now that you played it back. But Ryan, what are the elements you have in your song?
So I have a pad, I have the vocals, I have percussion, which is closed hi-hats, open hi-hats, another pattern of closed hi-hats, a kick drum, some claps, and then I mean, that's pretty much it. That's all I can really think of. Yeah, because the deep house type genre, it's more about textures. The elements, there's not that many, but you take those elements and you add different textures. Like I had the same pad, but I threw some flanger and some chorus on it in one of the parts, and the bass gets layered in the B section instead of the A section. But like Mike was saying, it's subtle stuff that you really have to listen to be able to hear it. And I think because I got real granular with it and I'm not looking at it big picture. So yeah.
Yeah. There might be an opportunity to play with, space a little bit more and to see like is there a different element that can help fill that out to then when you remove, it allows for the bass line to not become monotonous anymore.
Yeah.
Because the primary thing that I heard that shifted a lot was the vocals. And then the pad felt in the clip that Mike played, it felt like it was a transitional thing. I know you hate that word, Mike, but it was.
Oh no, that's okay. In that context, it's fine.
Shift.
The transitional thing, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
But like that helps move things into the next section, and then it played a little bit through the next section, but not for long. Correct me where I'm.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, and that was something I was experimenting with because those pads are more of like an atmospheric type. What I was looking at is to provide more atmosphere to the song itself. It's not like the pads are really there to be up front. They're kind of in the back.
Okay.
Just like an atmosphere.
Right. Yeah. So to me, the way that it is expressed at the moment is in an A and a B, right? So it's not that they are in addition to, they are. It's like right, we're somewhere else now. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that that is a. I mean, they could be either, but if they were either, they would be differently. There would be a different arc to it. At the moment, to me, it's A B A B A B. Yeah.
To answer so it would probably be more of so in that B section you got the pads, in the A section you don't. So I probably should take them away where it kind of bleeds in to one of the A sections. I think it's on the second time the A section comes in. The pad bleeds in. Maybe I pull it away so it doesn't bleed in.
Yeah.
Well, then when you don't have the pad, all you basically have are drums, bass, vocals. Right?
Yeah,
which is cool.
Well, the vocals are more in the B section.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vocals are in the B section.
What?
So I need to maybe add some ear candy in the A section.
Not necessarily. What I would do first, I'm always, as you will hear me, I'm constantly saying, hang on, let's not go to add first. Let's not go to add more stuff first. Let's see what we have to play with, right? Let's just have another listen to this. And by the way, folks who are waiting, we're going to have to stop this in 35 minutes. And just so you know, one of the things I really do want to make sure that we do in these feedback sessions is that we give proper feedback, which is useful, that someone can go away and work with. So sometimes that's going to take a lot of time, and it does mean not everybody can get their track listened to, which I understand is really frustrating, particularly if you've been waiting. But just rest assured that we are doing, you can do as many leap classes as you want, and we are doing these every leap class. So you will at some point get your music listened to, and hopefully this is valuable to you anyway. So just, if you're getting frustrated waiting, sorry about that, but that's just how we do things. so let's just listen to this groove, because before you start thinking about adding ear candy, if we just listen to the groove. Sorry, I'm just getting to the... right, now thinking about the space, right, of this section, this could, before you add anything else, what I might think about doing, Ryan, is making this taller and deeper. Yeah. Now, and also thinking about how it's wide, right? Because at the moment, the way I hear it is the claps are like this. Now, I bear in mind I am wearing headphones, so I can really, really hear this. Yeah. So the claps are out here like this, and the hats are very, very zingy. Yeah. So there's a lot of sizzle going on there. And and the bass end, it's very there's not much down there at all. So we've got this kind of thing that's like this and like this. Yeah. And what's more what's more, there isn't much that is
Depth.
a depth as well. So we've got this kind of wide. It's kind of like a kind of IKEA flat pack furniture box, right? So in order to make that transition, although it's not a transition, it's just a change from one thing to another, that transition more effective, what I might think about doing is, right, so how can I make it taller? So what I might think about doing is, I don't know whether you've taken EQ off the bass and the kick or something, I'm not sure, but it's just letting that bottom end have a bit more grunt to it. Yeah, maybe come back and and maybe think about. I mean, it might be a function of the speakers you're using or something as well, but also that high end just come back on the hats a bit. And I do like those zingy hats at the top, but what would really, because there's also a kind of gap in the high mid. You know that kind of house.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
You know, that kind of
shakers, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not necessarily shaking. No, I'm not talking about adding. I'm just talking about what you've got. Right. I'm just talking about the EQ on the hats, and also that. So that clap, it's like, hello. It's like miles away at either side. What I might think about doing is like putting that somewhere. It doesn't have to be in the center. It could be there. It could be there. Or it could be there, but at the moment it's like they've got this huge amount of stereo on it, yeah. And so with the bass, I mean, if I was going to do this, I may think about like, so the bass and the kick, and I would make a decision about whether I want the bass to be above the kick or the kick above the bass. It's totally up to you, right? So that's down there, and what I might think about doing is having the effect creating the stereo field, or possibly, if you're talking about ear candy, what I might think about doing is having the stereo field created by some extra little percussion things. I mean, I don't mean constantly going, but either side. And I think that would actually make the space of that groove much more impactful.
Okay, yeah. I see what you're saying. Like to give, And then when you say about adding the depth, what would I need to do there to get the depth?
That is more tricky. So there are a number of different things that you can do. Again, if you put, so this is a personal preference. I really like having hats and clap. So it's like literally, I've got my nose pressed against the hats and the clap. And then in order to create depth, what I will sometimes do, again, it's just little bits of percussion here and there, is putting them out there. Essentially by having them quieter, but also you can do it with compression as well, but I don't want to get all into that, but it's kind of about the transients and stuff. Let's not go there. Essentially just make something quieter that's in the background, right? Which isn't the compression thing, but it's another way of doing it. Another thing you can do is by adding reverb onto these things that you put in the background, a little bit of reverb, and also by having the bass in the middle, but the effect on the bass more stereo. That will kind of push something into the background, not the actual bass, but something into the background, giving it more depth. Also, something I do like to do, but you've got to be careful, you want to EQ the lows and the highs, is I actually send the delay on the bass to a bit of reverb as well, and that pushes that further back as well. So essentially, if you don't want to get into the of compression, there are two ways to push something. Well, there are probably more than two ways, but two easy ways to push something back. One is turn it down, The other is to put some kind of reverb and delay effect on. Not too much, but just experiment with it.
Just a little bit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
that makes perfect sense.
So, do you know what you're doing? Have you got something that you can go away and move forward with?
Yeah, like you said, I'm just gonna kind of play around with the depth effects like reverb and delay in that A section, and then just try to maybe add a little bit of percussion, but not completely just like throw a whole shaker loop in there. Just kind of some little pieces, and then to see how that builds more for the transition from A to B.
Yes, exactly, and the
contrast.
Yeah, exactly, and just as a kind of training and practice tip for you, please don't now go onto YouTube and like Google, how to get more depth in my tracks and stuff, because that's going to send you down all kinds of rabbit holes. Here's how I would experiment with creating this kind of space, and this is an ideal track to be practicing this with. I would say, okay, so Mike has said I need more height, right? And so try different things. Try removing, I don't know, some of the low cut or something, and see what that does. Does that take that down lower, or does it take it up higher? Just kind of click off, click on. Okay, so that takes it down lower. Right, so I now know that's something that's going to take it down lower. Mike says push something back. I've already said turn something down and add various different effects to them. Experiment with different effects yourself, just literally closing your eyes, turn them off, and just picturing, does this push this back, or does it bring it forward? Or does it make no difference? Yeah? Because you don't need somebody to... You've got ears. I think you've got ears. You've got ears, Ryan? I think you have. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to assume you've got ears. You've got ears, right? And I've told you a couple of things that you can do to push things back. So now all you need to do is do it yourself. Yeah? You don't need some ninja pro level depth trick. You just need to use your ears and twiddle knobs. That is my one tutorial. My one tutorial. Twiddle knobs, use your ears. Job done. Okay? so there you go. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next one. Nice one, Ryan. Keep it up.
Thanks, guys. That was great.
Fantastic.
All right, we've got Urenka.
Urenka. Great. So, where are we?
Is she here?
Is she here?
She's here.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can. Where is your...
Oh, cool.
Have you got a track in here? Oh, there. Yeah, got it. Great. Work in progress, not mixed or mastered. Why don't you, because we've done this with the others, where are you at with your music and so forth? How would you describe yourself as a musician? Where are you at on your musical journey? It's probably the best way of putting this. So just to give people a bit of context.
So I was also classically trained, but I started writing poetry, and I branched into songwriting after. So putting my lyrics to music, that's the hard part in my journey. Does that make sense?
Yes. Excellent. So, and where is it? So you said this is not mixed and mastered, a work in progress. So where is this in the automatic music machine? Where would you say this piece of music is?
I would say it's like currently I have it in between draft and done. I'm still trying to figure out, between the two. I don't really know how to. Yeah, I've been still trying to figure that out.
That's okay. That's absolutely fine.
Sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We want to know kind of where it is, because some people are playing as splurges, some other people are playing this stuff in release, and so we want to get that context. Okay, so let me just check that we're not going to deafen everyone. So let's.
Sorry.
It's okay.
What did you say?
Yeah, no, I'm just going to make sure that we're not deafening everybody with the volume, and I'm going to press play. So here we go.
Okay. Scared.
Self-defense or self-destruction. I need to study your reaction. tears? Would you dive in to rescue me? What if I die in my dreams? Would you wake me with a kiss of life? What if I'm frozen by my fears? Would you hold my hand and guide me? Come save me from the fire. I set myself alight, burn with fear and desire. Speak flames as I cry. Come save me from the
Great. Loads of dominant sevenths in there, so it was always a winner for me. So
It's good since Monday.
that's not. Oh God, I'm not. Oh, crikey, yes. Dominant seventh is my chord. It's like hardly. Yeah. Anyway, so I tell you, I was watching sorry, Renko, I'll come to you in a second, but it just reminded me of something. I saw there was an advert, and I couldn't help but click on it because it was, what was it? It was like basic chords, good chords, and then it was Einstein chords, right? And then I clicked this thing, I was like, Einstein chords? What the hell's that? And then there was this whole ad about pro level chords. I was like, I've got a pro level chord for you. 251. Ha! In your face, pro level chords. Just like, what on earth are they talking about? Anyway, so just the claptrap that you hear out there is ridiculous. But anyway, Irenka, what is your feedback about? What is your own listening to that in context? What did you think in listening back to that?
I'm kind of shaking. I mean, I have done like, kind of zero. I mean, I've done only the mixing that I've done while I'm putting it together, but no further stuff. So I definitely have like a lot of things I don't know. I mean, we're not supposed to talk about the mixing. No, I think what I struggle with is the transitions, because I have like, I was explaining to Arash in our private conversations, like each section I give a mood, and then connecting the parts together. Like that's where I'm kind of like.
Oh, okay. So can I?
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So can I give you my? And this is an opinion, Irenka, right? So I'm not. This isn't truth. So my opinion is actually I wanted these sections to sound more different. So the one that yeah. It's like this is the problem with this transitions word. It's like it's such a red herring in so many, not always, but in so many different situations, is that you don't want the sections to sound to smoothly go from one to another. You want this specifically in something like this for me. The one the transition I like the most, the one that really worked for me was this one here, the one where it went down to the boo bit, and I was like, all right, I'm there, because it was so different. Yeah.
Yeah, I was literally thinking like those transitions are amazing. I love that. I was like, loved it. Like when the super fast like arpeggiator came in, I was like, oh, this is great.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, if anything, I wanted it to be more shocking. That changeover between the A and the B. I wanted it to sort of be more of a black and white sort of a situation. Not so much in
Well,
the
that is-
not so much in the music, but more in the space that it was creating. I think is what I mean.
I mean, that's what I had in mind, like, you know, because like the you know, the chorus is like it's hot. I mean, it's flames, you know what I'm saying? Like the arpeggiation is flames coming up and down. And then like the B section, the bridge is like, you know, cold and cavernous type thing. So that's what I was going for.
Well,
But I just kind of like just the sound, like, you know, putting the sound effects of the whoosh and that kind of stuff. Like that's what I mean, I put a lot of work into it, so I'm glad that you're picking up on it.
yeah, no, it's great. It's great. I mean, it's just going back here, right? So let's go.
know it's crazy, I can't. I need to. I set myself
So I'm just thinking. So it's probably not the best example. Where is it? Is there another?
play to hear.
There we go.
Now you're finding it's in my mind. The dragon's hiding. They glorify me, then they leave me. You're not the first to try and save me. Does your heart have enough bravery? I need to know. I need to know. I need to. I set myself.
Okay, so this for me is about the space. Okay, so when I say we're not talking about mixing and mastering, space is partly about mixing and mastering, but we're not. It's like we're not talking about it in any other terms other than what space it's creating. Does that make sense? Right. So that's what I was talking about with Ryan in the last thing. So there's a number of different ways that you can create a different space. So you can go from very thin, sorry, not thin, short, yeah, to very tall. You can go from very narrow to very wide. You can go from very flat to very deep, or you can do all of those things. And I think the if I was to give any feedback, and to be honest with you, this is take it or leave it, right? But because I like it as it is. If I was going to give any feedback, I would think about, okay, so I would maybe think about picking one of those dimensions and going, okay, so how can I make it way taller? Because what I hear is that the space, while there is different instrumentation, the space is actually very similar between those two sections. Whereas the space between the B section and the middle eight, or the, depends what you call it, but that thing there, that bit there, is very different, and that's what creates the impact. Is that you put it into a completely different space. So that, yeah, again, that feedback though is take it or leave it, because it's as Luke rightly says, it's great as it is.
So would you mean like you? I mean, I hear that too. Like you want the chorus to like hit harder, like create a different space on that first beat. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, when people say hit harder, that there's an assumption behind that, which is it must be bigger. I don't actually care whether it's bigger or smaller. It just wants. It's not. I want it to be. It's not that it wants it to be. I would like to hear what it would be like if it was significantly different. So you've got basically
like
three different.
Like
wider? Maybe.
Did you say wider?
Well, no, but it doesn't have to.
Deeper?
It's up to you. I'm just looking for the differential of some kind, aside from the instrumentation.
Okay.
But that again it's an opinion. It may well not work, and it may well not fulfill the vision that you're going for. But that was what because it's almost like, yes, there is a differential, a contrast in the energy, because you get the fast beat coming in, but it's like the space isn't also expressing that difference. And when this happened here, that is a contrast in space, and I was like, I mean, maybe it's just me. I'm quite embodied in music. I kind of feel myself in a place when I'm listening to music, so that's quite important to me, and it might not be important to you. So again, take it with a pinch of salt. What did you think, Arash?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I when it comes to space, everything just kind of felt here. And so I understand, Mike, what you mean when you like to give some kind of differentiation. If any place, if I would look at one, it would be the hook, because that's where you want to pull people in. That's where you want to be the most impactful, particularly in your case, because this is a song versus an instrumental track that's extending for maybe 5 minutes. Good job. It's great to hear what you've been working on. Is this the track that you were collaborating with somebody?
This is also a collaboration, but not with this person.
Okay.
This is a different thing.
Cool.
Yeah. But I was going to ask, what is the thing to you? Like, when I'm trying to think in terms of how you express things, is like the thing for you is the chorus in a song, or what?
For me, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, sorry. So it's not always, but I think in this it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing. That.
Yep.
And the groove that comes in under it, just that. In this case, it's the chorus. I would say that is the thing in this.
Okay.
Yep.
You're saying mostly in songs, it's the chorus. Then.
Usually, yeah. Radiohead might argue with us on that, but so.
Yeah.
So.
But if your goal is to write, pop music or songs that want to attract listeners on a wider scale, then generally speaking, the thing is the hook, because that's the thing that pulls them in.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the space that I'm creating, the transition I create in the bigger civic, like I'm totally with you. So is it that's part of the mixing or part of the like instrumentation wise? Like I'm trying to understand. Is it the mixing? Or do I need to change the instrumentation? Like,
you could, but I mean, it's kind of both. Because mixing largely is also about choice of instruments. So, because obviously it's again one of these things where one thing influences another. But yeah, exactly. It's like a chicken or egg. But just to keep it simple, Arenka, in this piece of music right now, you wouldn't need to change any of the instrumentation. You could do it with the mixing, as they say. So you could, but it's funny, I don't really think of it as mixing. I think of it as composition. So because you're composing a space, right? It's like it's part of it. It's not, there's not this like wait, this is mixing and this it's all but part of the same thing. And it's probably because you're a songwriter, whereas I came from a different. But yeah, I think in this case you could do it with, as you call it, the mixing. So and that would be great, because I don't think there's anything wrong with the instrumentation whatsoever.
Yeah. No, and to go off your point, Mike, if you think about it, like orchestras back in the days, the composition was there, their mixing was where they would place the instruments in the space.
Yes.
So it's definitely one influencing the other, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like the orchestration, if you want to call it. I mean, but again, I suppose that is possibly instrumentation. It's hard to say, but I think just keep it simple, Irenka. Keep the instruments the same if you want to take action on this feedback, which you don't have to because it sounds great to me. So keep the instruments the same and play around with changing where the instruments are, how high the thing is, or how wide the thing is, or how deep the thing is, or all of them, and see where that gets you. The differential, particularly between the A and the B, I think the differential between the C and the other two sections, great. That's the kind of differential well I would be looking for. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Cool. Let's do one more, and then we're gonna have to stop. So sorry for the few people who are left after.
We got Corey.
Fantastic. So, are you there, Corey?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you all? Let me go ahead and mute.
Cool.
So we don't have a reprisal.
Yeah. All right. So just check this. I think we'll be okay. Good. So it's a short one as well. So so we won't go too far over 8 for me.
What happened? I kind of lost the. I see Mike smiling. I assume that's good, but I lost the audio.
Sorry, let's go back. Sorry about that. Let's start again. Great. So we had vocals from Arash there for the first time through.
You got me. My mind goes. You got me inspired, man.
Yeah.
I was like,
Thank
so
you.
Arash is definitely feeling it. And
Hey man, send me a vocal stem.
yeah, there you go. Making future massive bands of the world here live on YouTube. So Corey, listening back to that, what is the feedback that you would give yourself, in this new context?
Mix it, widen it out a little bit, and release it.
Cool. So it's about, for you, it's about the space. So what is I guess, rather than what you are going to do, where are the problems, if any?
I do feel like there could be a little more energy in the payoff, and just making that top synth like a more exciting sound, a little richer sound, filling out the frequency range of it a little bit. Maybe like double it with another synth in like a lower octave or something like that.
Okay. So
and then
no. So go on. I'll keep talking.
Well, and then at the end, the outro part, I think there could be something to add a little more excitement, and it seems like adding some like risers and drops in it as well, just to make those transitions really stand out more.
Right. Okay. So.
Oh, no.
That's okay. You're allowed to say the word. It's okay. Just know that I will always make that noise. But no. So, what you are? All right. So, what you're? I asked you what the problems are, and this is what people do. This is what I do too. And right. So I asked you what the problems are, and then you gave me a bunch of solutions. Right. What is the problem that what is the problem? I mean, particularly looking at this path thing here, right? Where is the problem that you are solving with these potential solutions?
Hold on, let me pull up.
And by the way, just to get like so you understand, because we've not said anything yet, I think it sounded great. So like really, that we're quibbling about small things here. Okay, so but let's just So just recognize that I'm not asking you these questions because I'm like, oh my god, there's a serious problem here. We're going to have to help. It's not that at all. It's like it sounded great. I was into it. I was really into it. So but let's just. I'm getting you to focus on your feedback first. Okay. So.
Okay.
What is the problem? Yeah, the arc. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the problems I noticed is the arc in the beginning. It feels a little bit draggy. And then the real payoff part could potentially, it doesn't last as long as it could.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, with the payoff, just to be, I wish I had an elastic band here because it would be a good demonstration. A payoff isn't going to last. The moment of the payoff is never going to last very long. It's like an elastic band. So the payoff, it's like you pull the elastic band back before the payoff. You pull it back and you pull it back and you pull it back. And to be fair, if you pull it back too far, the elastic band will break, which often happens with a lot of EDM, in my opinion. Here we go. Come here, say.
I think we're listening to the same.
So that it's like the elastic band is broken. You pull it back so far, you go like this. But if you get just the right amount of tension, and you let go, then this energy is released. Like potential energy you're building up. This energy is released, right? And it flies the furthest it can go. But as it is flying, it's always gonna fall down, right? So just remember, it's like extending the length of the payoff. It probably isn't that easy to do. I mean, one way you can do it, actually, which people do quite a lot, is what I call a fake out payoff, where they kind of give you the payoff, but it's not the actual payoff, and then they give you a payoff. So you could do that. But if we don't talk about that, so essentially, let's just kind of review, because I just gave you another metaphor for the payoff of the rubber band, which has taken us off track slightly. Because I could hear in the solutions you identifying the problem exactly as I had identified the problem too, if there is a problem, right? Because it's good as it is, right? Okay. Right? Which is
Thank you.
If there is something to work on, it's the shape. Yeah, the arc. Okay. Yeah, I probably would have called arc shape, but then the method would have been the method, which didn't work so well. So I came up with arc instead. so it's the shape of the music. It's almost like it's very like that, which is cool. If you want to do that, that's cool. That's totally fine. But there were certain moments where I kind of felt that oh no, actually, I'm not going to say that first. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to ask you. So all of the solutions that you came up with before we identified what the problem was, what were they? Like what were those solutions? What
I
did
think they're around.
Yeah.
Actually, the elastic band metaphor is super useful because, you know, there's the kind of the first build where you get all of the parts except for the top synth. And then there's the, what is it, like 8-bar drum break and then payoff. So maybe one of the problems can be around building up more tension before that payoff so that moment feels bigger.
Right.
Like pull back the band a little farther before that.
Aha. Great. Because I don't know whether you noticed, Corey, and this is what everyone does, including me. So I'm not right. Every single solution you came up with before we identified what the actual problem was I could add this, I could put that in. There needs a little extra of that, or this, or the other. As soon as we've identified the problem, the solution that you came up with was the opposite, which is what? Take stuff away.
Which is actually,
But pull things back.
And not make the payoff longer, but make the part leading up to the payoff a little bit, you know,
more tension,
and a little bit longer.
Essentially, when you take things away, because what is tension? Like, what actually is tension? Like, why do we experience tension?
I think it's that, like, knowing that it's anticipation, right?
Right.
On some level, it's knowing that something is coming, and we're waiting for it.
Right.
Literally wait for the drop.
So in other words,
and in this track, you don't wait very long.
So in other words, we're waiting for something that isn't there. In order for us to know that it isn't there, it needs to have been there beforehand. Right? So that means that tension has to be, in part or in large part, the taking away of something, not the adding of something. Right? That's more like the release. Yeah, the bringing back of something, not even the adding. The bringing back of something is the release. So, in other words, the very first thing you want to do to create more tension is not think about, oh God, how can I add more stuff? At this point, is what can I take away to increase the tension? Yeah, does that make sense?
I like that. Indeed.
So I'm gonna pass it over to the guys and see what they have to say. Luke, have you got anything here?
Thanks, Mike.
You're from Colorado, right?
I live in Colorado, yeah.
I can hear it in the music. It's so Colorado.
It's being within like 100 miles of pretty lights and that whole. Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna take that as a huge compliment.
Yeah, no, it's definitely got that Denver area sound.
Luke was telling me just yesterday how much he hated music from Colorado. Just can't stand it.
Well, his head he betrayed him completely on this one.
No, I thought it was. I thought this, like, the space was, well, to me, I think partially space of, like, you know, like texture, and where the texture takes you. Like, I thought the drum texture was really interesting. Like the hi-hat texture was like somehow like wet and dry at the same time. And then, yeah, I mean, I felt like I was like in the mountains, like, and then like everything starts to, like, I don't know, change colors or something. It was a cool sound for sure. And then, yeah, I thought that the main lacking thing was like there wasn't enough tension. And that would have made the release even, you know, deeper. Let me think, what else is on the paths? Payoff. Yeah, the payoff was there. Arc. Yeah, basically, like, sometimes to make something feel higher, you have that lower part. Just like extending the space and energy. Thing. Yeah, that made sense. I liked the bass drum and like how that was moving. Yeah, I mean, overall, like texture wise, I liked like that there was some like vocal pad sounding things. Trying to think what else. That yeah, I think like what Mike covered was the biggest thing is just cut some stuff at points to add to the tension. And even like in the beginning, like even like one thing you can do is like cut out part of a melody after you establish it, even for like a bar, or cut out little things like that and have these little like micro tension and release throughout.
There was one. There's a bit where the bass line changes, and it's like a little bass line fill, and everything else carried on playing around it. And I won't find it now because we haven't got time. But there was a little bit, and the bass line went boop, 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 or something. And I was like, man, I wish everything had come out at that point, and it was just left with that, and then everything comes back in again. It's these little moments that you can add actually that you can take things away, right? And so always, just as a general rule, before you start adding stuff, think about what you can take away to have the same, a similar impact. Just use it as a little, I mean, it's not always true, right? But it's a little principle, a little kind of rule, simple rule that you can remember that allows you to often make things more effective in a much shorter amount of time, much more easily. Right? And for me, that's a checkbox. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm going to use that rule. What can I take away first and see what happens? Yeah. Sorry, continue, Luke. I just wanted to jump in there.
Yeah, and then I think like just like the vibe of it, I definitely got like like I said, like the Colorado, like Pretty Lights, milder form of like Tipper, like that sound. I thought it would fit well in that world, if you will. What are the other things? Hook, yeah, and then Space. Yeah, thought it was, yeah, crushed it.
Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Arash, any?
That's one of my favorites so far.
Yeah, I thought it was cool, Corey. I thought it was cool. You know.
I feel you. Thank you.
No, I failed you as a coach on this round because as soon as I heard your track, I was like, oh, the artist in me was intrigued. So my mind started, and I didn't even realize my mic was on. So Mike, when you muted me, I was like, oh, oops. But so I just went with it for the moment. And but I'll tell you, from an artist perspective, you have all this space for vocals. And I really loved it when I first heard your vocal pads come in. The things that were super intriguing was your little decisions. Like Mike said, there was that moment where the bass line did something different. There was a moment where your hi-hat skipped a little bit, like you added some repetition. So it was enough that like, oh, this is dope. So if you couldn't tell, I'm feeling it. But because I went off on my artist tangent, I wasn't fully engaged with listening, so I apologize on that.
Pretty much the best feedback that you can get, which is like Arash was too into it to actually think about it. So there you go. So yeah, one on the space note, Corey. The other thing that I think you could think about is the depth. Okay, because I remember thinking at one point, okay, so everything is here, like it's on a piece of paper. Not everything, but a lot of things were just, when I say here, I'm not talking about the height. I'm talking about, it's hard, no. Everything, oh yeah, that's better, isn't it? Okay. Everything is here. Yeah, and I wanted some things to be here and some things to be here. Now that might not be the Colorado sound. That might be a defining feature of the Colorado sound that everything is here. Right. But then you could be an innovator.
No.
So and you know people could be saying, this is a milder form of air signs in the future. So yeah, that's what I would think about.
I think it's maybe more of a feature that this is it's an MVS splurge, like straight out of Oxy. Like
right.
This hasn't even been brought into a DAW yet. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I brought it right into Dawn basically because I think that's as I was mentioning, a lot of this stuff are like mixing, mastering, adding the production elements, and then creating that depth. I'm curious what you would recommend, right? What would be the first maybe 3 things that you would do to create that depth if you were to pull this in and say, like,
now you're
I'm
asking.
finishing now?
You mean I actually have to tell you what to do? Oh my god. Okay. All right. No. You're really testing us. All right. Let's have a listen.
I would.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
I would add like some random like found sounds or like random like, and just put like a ton of reverb on it, and like have those occasionally, because there isn't enough space where I think if you could hear those like reverb tails and like hear it like going out, it'll make it like, even if you just have a few of those occasionally, just little hits and one shots, that's something you can do that won't clutter it too much. You can also just turn some stuff down, have it further back.
That's like
reverb and delay.
It's just like the go.
Cut some of the highs.
Yeah, let's just have a look. Let's just have a listen to particularly here. Like. Okay, so right there, we've got the bass and the rhythm that is quite forward, and then the bon bon, that kind of chordy sound in the middle, and then you've got the thing going on. Now, those things it's not that they are completely flat, right? But they are already at a certain distance away from in terms of depth, away from each other. Yeah, and what I would probably do myself if I was thinking about mixing this is I'd be like, right, I'm just going to exaggerate that differential that already exists. Right, so for instance, the vocals I might put like way back. It might not work, but I would try that first. Put that way back. I'd probably put the chord in sort of closer, and then I'd try and get the bass and the kick and the rhythm like, so it's like, punching me in the face, essentially. So that
Awesome.
so that's what I would be thinking about doing. It's like I definitely. I mean, that's a great suggestion from Luke. I mean, that's the same suggestion that It's not that I'm anti this because I said that to Ryan too. But the first thing I would do is go, okay, so where in this case, what are the parts already suggesting? How can I just increase that? Yeah, it's like exaggerate what is already there. Because that may well get you the whole way. Does that make sense? Yeah.
You could also just like with the vocal, if you wanted to keep it up front for part of it, if you were to like cut some of the highs and have like the wet on a reverb, like slowly opening and like opening up the highs and like reducing the reverb, it'll sound like it's like coming from this like dark cave from behind and then coming up. And then you could even if you take it back again like that, it'll give that illusion that like, there was this place really far behind that it came from, and then it came up here. Oh, now it's going back again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, that's
another
great.
way to like.
Yeah. Because space isn't only. Space in itself, like where the parts move within that space, doesn't have to be static. So things moving forward and back is it's just a great thing to do. So I know that wasn't exactly 3 things, but it was 3 parts. So if you want 3 things. Bring the rhythm and the bass forward, kind of leave the chord part where it is, and see what you can do with bringing the vocal forward and back. How's about that?
Love that. Thank you.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Brilliant.
I can't wait to get into the the done splurge.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And it is amazing what you can do with splurging, isn't it? I mean, that was just a splurge. So, I mean, so many of the tracks that I'm getting done through my machine for for the 2021 thing, they're all the best ones are all splurges. It's crazy. So it's just like, and they just come out, and then you're basically done. So fantastic. All right, folks. Well, that's been
magic of the AMM. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you all very much again.
Not at all.
This is it's really a gift. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you too, Corey, and everybody, leapers and non-leapers alike. Now, I will be told off by my marketing department if I don't mention that there is a class of the Leap starting right now. So if you want to get involved in that, go to the link that should be in the description of this live YouTube event. We have listened to the music from the last cast. As you can tell, there's all kinds of different people in there doing all kinds of different music, all kinds of different levels, and it's all good because basically we are non-genre specific, we're non-gear specific, and this is helpful for people at any level because I just take a very different approach. We take a very different approach. So come and join the community because once you're in, you're in. Once a leaper, always a leaper. Yeah, we'd be very, very glad to have you. So that's it for now. This time tomorrow, well, actually not this time tomorrow, 3 hours, 20 minutes before now, tomorrow, will be the next Momentum Monday session where we will be actually talking about one of the paths things, which is the hook. Hook, where is it? Here we are. So hook, and I will specifically be talking about how we can use the Gestalt principles of how we kind of process information to think about making better hooks, which is very interesting. And I found it very useful for my own music. Again, it's not truth, it's not reality, it's just a way of doing things which gives you an idea of what things to do. So that's what we're going to be covering tomorrow, as well as the usual ongoing group accountability and coaching. Ardash and Luke, is there anything you'd like to say to finish this out? No?
Great job.
Yeah.
Great work.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. And yeah, we will see you in the next round of the Leap. If you're not doing the Leap, that's absolutely fine too. If not, I will see you tomorrow, hopefully. If not, the week after or the week after that. So until then, onwards and upwards. And I've got to remember, I've got to turn off 2 things now, haven't I? So Zoom and the live stream. So until next time, there we go.